Welcome back to our coding dojo, and today in this episode we are going to tackle the ultimate search bar. Trust me, this search bar is so powerful that even if you try to find your sock that you lost last year, it will find you. User can just here input their names. For example, I can type LEA and it will give me the result. And this is pretty simple, built using just HTML and some couple of JavaScript code. Before we jump into the code, I will recommend you guys to clone this boilerplate code. The link is given in the description. So what this boilerplate code is, it's a simple HTML where we have a loader. As you can see, we have some stylings where we have imported some fonts, and we have a JavaScript file where you can write your own scripts. We have a assets folder where we have this GIF, and I'm running this using my live server extension that is available on the VS Code. You can go there and install it and right click on your HTML file, open with live server, and this will pretty much give you this result. Okay, so let's get started. Let's add a basic search input box here. So first in the HTML, I'm going to be adding an input file. Inside that, let's add an ID of my search box. Let's add a class so that we can add some styling, and we add a placeholder. Let's see. Okay, now this looks a little bit of ugly, so we're going to add some CSS over here. So let's add my search box since this is the class that I am using. Now let's add some width. Okay, now this is a little bit longer. Let's add some height to it. Also, let's add some borders. Now this looks cool. Let's add some border radius and some padding, but not but last, we're gonna add some font size. Cool. This loader, let's comment out this loader part. Now that we have this search bar where we can type, now in order to search, we need some data, right? So let's go to JSON placeholder, and this website gives you free data which you can use for testing. Also, you can do it in an API fashion, but I'm just going to give you some link which you can paste, and I'm going to grab this whole data and I'm going to store it in my data. Okay, now we need some table to actually visualize this data, and when we search here, the table is going to render automatically based on the search result. So let's add some table. So you're going to add a table with the class name of my table. I'm going to add the headings with ID, name, username, and email ID. Cool. This looks a little bit ugly, so we're going to add some CSS. So we're going to add some borders and we're going to add some padding. Cool. Let's give it a margin between the search bar and the table. So I'm going to add a margin top of 8 pixels. So now that we have this data, right, so we just need to look through all of these objects and add the names and username, email IDs. So I'm going to just using this for data into this table item. So one way to do is, of course, you can add a row, and inside this you can add 4 more cells, and this will look something like this, and you can continue this with all of this data. But what if there are like millions of data or billions of data, right? You cannot do this manually. So let's not do this. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the help of JavaScript, and we're gonna loop through all of this data. So let's take the element of my table, this element. So I'm gonna take it by get element by ID, and I'm gonna loop through all my data in a for. Inside this, I'm going to creating a table row. So the first row, so if I were doing this manually, I would create the row first, right? So I'm creating the row, and inside the row I will be creating cells. So basically this, my TDs, these are the cells. So I have to create 4 cells. So I will create 4 cells, and inside each of the cells, so in the first cell TD1, the ID will go, in the second cell the name will go, and the username, email ID. Now we have to append all of these cells into this row. So I'm gonna append all of the cells here, and lastly we have to append the whole row into this table. Now we do this, we save it, voila, we have all the data here. Okay, so now that we have rendered all of the data into a table, the next step would be to implement this search functionality. So whenever I type say LEA, it should return me this row, right? No other, if any other row contains this word, like this set of words, then it should return me that row also, right? And all other rows should disappear. Like this is the desired functionality. So how are we gonna achieve that? First we need to capture whatever I am typing. So each letter I am typing, I need to capture that word. So how am I gonna do that? So in this input we're gonna add this attribute on input, and I'm gonna call this function on search, and I'm passing this. So this basically returns the whole element, and you can do like this dot value or this dot placeholder. You can basically get any attribute from this. So let's create that function in the JavaScript. So I'm going to create that function. I'm going to taking the element. Now here I'm saying that, okay, so how are we going to search this? So first we need to take all of this single rows, and I'm going to loop through all of these rows one by one. So in this line it says that get element by ID of my table, and inside of my table give me all of these rows, right? All of these TRs. So once it does, I'm gonna loop through all of this TR, and I'm gonna starting from 1. Why I'm starting from 1? Because if you see inside my table, the 0 index will actually have this heading, right? I'm not interested in this heading, I'm interested in the data. So I will start from 1, not from the 0, and then I'm say that, okay, now that I'm into the row, give me all of the cells, right? Give me all of the cells, give me this ID 1 cell, give me this cell, give me this cell. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, okay, td equals to tr of I, so basically this row of I, and get element by tag name of td. So I'm saying that, okay, inside of this tr, inside of this table row, give me all the cells. Okay, and I'm just returning the cell number 1. So what is cell number 1? Cell number 1 is nothing but this name. Okay, so I'm saying that, okay, so this td will actually contain this cell. Now I'm saying, okay, what is the current text inside of this cell? So I can just write td.innerText, and it will give me the current cell value. So whatever text is inside of this cell, it will return me that. Now I'm checking that, okay, if that current text, I'm just converting it to two lowercase just to check, because in search uppercase and lowercase doesn't matter. So I'm just converting that whatever is inside of this value, whatever the text inside of this cell, I'm just converting it to lowercase, and then I'm checking with this includes function. So this is basically a JavaScript function that returns true if that set of letters is present in that. So if I type say LEA, so it gonna say, okay, LEA is here, so I'm gonna return, this will return me true. Okay, this will return false because LEA doesn't actually in this word, right, in this name, so it's gonna return false. So if that returns true, if whatever I'm typing is inside of this name, then I will say, okay, then the styling of this row tr of I, basically tr of I is the rows, right? So I'm saying that don't do anything, don't add any styles to that row. But else, if that letter doesn't contain, for example in this LEA doesn't exist, so I'm gonna say that just remove this row from the DOM. So just remove this from the table. So I'm just saying that display is equals to none. Now if I do this, I type LEA, cool, it works. Now let's try another one. So I take KUR. Okay, let's type something else that doesn't exist. So for example hello, cool, it returns me nothing, and it works. Super cool.